transparency report framework, diving into the technical underpinnings of the Sustainable Mine Transparency Report program. We really are excited to share this information with you today, and are very happy and grateful to have your attention for this hour. We will be taking questions throughout the webcast, answering them as we can. We will have a Q&A session at the end, answering as we can, and any webcast that we do not, any questions we don't get to on the webcast, we will follow up with you independently and make sure all your questions get answered. This is a really important introduction for us because this is work that's been in development for quite some time. Ultimately, all of you who are participating today are stakeholders in refining the process. And given that the name of the program includes the word transparency, it is our intent to be transparent in the development and the rollout of this program. I wanted to start out by giving you just a little bit of background for those who've not attended our webcasts or perhaps don't know a lot about what we're doing. We started working on the Transparency Report program a little over a year and a half ago when LEAD version 4 was introduced, and really seeing that as the catalyst for product manufacturers really needing to use life cycle assessment to report performance. And as we started to look at the demand for transparency that was going to be the outcome of that new type of requirement, it appeared that there really was a need for new ways of doing things that could respond to that demand for transparency and ultimately deliver information to architects, builders, contractors, and not just folks in the building products industry, but other industries as well. So our approach was to understand where there are hurdles, cost impacts, and deliverables that don't make it easy necessarily for folks to use the technical information to make purchase decisions. And that was the insight to let's work on those attributes and bring a complete program to market. So our kind of tagline is, keep the science and re-engineer the process. We also, because we've been in the business of helping product manufacturers design greener products, for those that actually are designing greener products, they now want to market greener products. And those who have not really been designing greener products are being required to report the relative greenness of their products. And once they start reporting, they've become aware that they really do need to start considering how to improve the design of their products so that the performance they're improving actually, the performance that they're reporting actually does get improved. So the Transparency Report program consists of 3 parts. It starts out with providing different options to more quickly get started with product transparency. You'll see as we go through the presentation how we have reverse engineered the PCR process to create a standardized framework to make it more efficient and cost effective to create product group definitions. We deliver our transparency report, which is a strategic marketing and lead generation tool. We based the design of the report on an in-depth research study of EPDs in the market today, looked at all of the content requirements as prescribed by ISO, and thought about how the information all needs to be in one place: technical product information, functional information, environmental information, how to put it all in one place and make all that information accessible and meaningful. And finally, to then deliver that life cycle assessment information back to product manufacturers in sustainable line software so that they can start working on improving the design of their products. And ultimately, what we've created is a continuous improvement loop. And this is how we think about the transparency report program. It's all about making greener product decisions. And so what we're going to talk you through today is the inception of an organization that needs product transparency and why, and the process that they'll go through in our program that ultimately gets them to making greener products and repeating the cycle, updating their LCA, updating their report, and so that we get to continuous improvement. So getting started, there's a lot of reasons why product manufacturers today are looking to do transparency reporting. And in this presentation, we are largely focused on the building products industry, but many industries are beginning to require different types of product transparency. And we've certainly heard from manufacturers a lot of confusion about how to respond to all of the requirements that are being put out there. But in comparison to the options that manufacturers have, there's multiple choices they can make, either walking through the Sustainable Minds Transparency Report program by developing a product group definition and then developing their LCA to that definition and then developing the transparency report. But every one of these use cases also means that a PCR, LCA, and EPD result can also happen. It's a path that also can be taken, except for the very last one on the right, where a manufacturer prefers a transparency report because of what the program includes, or that an EPD isn't required, and a new alternative solution really fills the bill. Moving forward, we are really excited to have partnered with NSF International, the sustainability division, who is an established program operator who will continue to write PCRs and provide EPD certifications, and will work with us to verify LCAs and certify transparency reports for those manufacturers who choose that option. What we're looking for is really delivering benefits to all of the users, all of the stakeholders in the process. This is an outward-facing program to deliver benefits to manufacturers and benefits to the people who are consuming the information. So the process benefits are that it's designed to be faster, that the standardized framework enhances consistency. It's a learning and continuous improvement process, so not trying to figure everything out up front, but to set a time frame, get the work done using a standardized process, and improve as new requirements are identified, and then ultimately to deliver a better, more understandable report. The people benefits are across all the stakeholders. Manufacturers save time, the process should cost less, there are better results. Industry associations can play an appropriate guidance role rather than facilitating the entire process. LCA service providers have a new service to add to their deliverables. Decision makers get information that's easier to use and understand, and it all rolls up ultimately to helping the folks who are building greener buildings to have the information required to earn points in the green rating systems and award those folks who are building greener buildings and making the world a better place. So let me introduce my colleagues, Joep Meijer and Kasem. What they're going to do is take you through an overview of the Transparency Report program, talk to you about all the components of what's in the framework and what that framework is, and then a detailed description of the comparison between the Transparency Report program framework to the ISO 14025, principles and procedures, what we're doing moving forward, and how manufacturers and LCA service providers can get started right now creating product group definitions and ultimately to create transparency reports. Let me introduce again my colleagues, Joep Meijer and Naji Kasem, who will introduce themselves and take the presentation forward from here.
Great. Well, thank you, Terry. That was a nice introduction. Just like Terry, my name is Joep Meijer. I'm very excited about our launch of this program. I'm the Sustainable Minds LCA technical expert, and I'm the chair of the technical advisory board that's overseeing the transparency report framework and application of it. I've been in the field of life cycle assessment for almost 20 years now. Have been involved mostly in Europe with several national standards and European standards around product decoration. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about how we feel like the Sustainable Minds Transparency Report framework is having added value based on all that experience and can hopefully be something really good for the U.S. market. So I'll be taking you through an introduction of the framework, and then Naji will take you through some of the details. Naji, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, hi everyone. I'm Naji Kasem, and I'm the Sustainable Minds Transparency Report Program Coordinator, and we'll catch up with you later in the presentation.
Yeah, so going forward, any technical questions about what you hear today that we don't address today, or going forward, that can be directed through Naji. So I'd like to introduce the Transparency Report Framework by talking about 4 of the most, I'd say, important documents and deliverables that we have developed. Of course, it culminates all in the number 4 on the slide, the Transparency Report, and we'll go in detail through what's on the report and how that's adding value to users of the report, but also to people and companies that are actually drafting the information that is presented on the report. Now, to be able to declare that, we have to define some of the rules, how this works. And we started by looking at the experience in America and in Europe, and said, well, let's start with the most advanced framework that we see in the world, defined by the EN 15804, and see if we can build a process that is more nimble and flexible than currently is happening in PCR and EPD land. Of course, it's all based on the ISO standards and laid down in the 14040 series. And since it's about environmental performance decoration, we're following the ISO 14025 guidelines, which will be the main thrust of the presentation from Naji later on. To be able to declare that, we have 3 different documents. We call it Part A and Part B, detailing all the rules for the LCA and then focusing it on specific products. And Part A is a very comprehensive document that details all the rules that apply to basically all products and all materials. An extensive report that is almost ready for external distribution And when you look at the different sections in here, you see we're closely aligned, if you're familiar with it, the EN 15804, going through goal and scope, the different life cycle stages, specific rules within these life cycle stages, specific topics that pop up, like regionalizing data or power mixes, C2 certificates, etc. And then, of course, with rules about what to declare on your transparency report. And I'm sure you can appreciate all the different topics here. What we're trying to do with this document is to be as detailed as necessary to capture all the different rules that once we know we needed those to come to a transparency report, and they didn't just apply to one specific product, but they would apply to basically any product. Those will be captured and are captured in Part A. And so it includes how to set up good functional units, how to define a product group, how to set up your system boundaries, which is the same for all products, how to develop product level scenarios, how to develop your LCI, your lifecycle inventory data, and how to calculate those into the end results through the impact assessment methodology. So every time we develop a new transparency report, we learn something that is applicable not just to a specific product, but will be fed into Part A. So this is a document that will grow over time. It captures all the relevant experience that we have so far and that will gain going forward. Now, by doing that, we don't have to recycle these generic rules or information in what we call a product group definition. So Part B is a very lean, very slim, very short document that is product specific. So when you want to apply to a transparency report and you want to develop one, you can use Part A that helps everybody. And we ask you to think about what goes into Part B. Now, Part B is a short document. We anticipate these documents to be 2 pages on average. And what you see in there is, okay, well, what are additional rules that we need to be able to develop a product declaration? And then product group is defined by, okay, well, which functional performance is actually delivered by this group. So the product group definition only includes a functional performance description. If you're going to issue a transparency report, what would be the functional unit and what would be declared units, if you do a gray over gate, and are there any additional rules needed in addition to Part A that you need to enhance comparability, remove ambiguity, or increase inclusivity? Then those should be issued here. And to give an example of a current product group definition document that is in review, we're working on some sanitary products right now, and in these sanitary products, based on early LCAs and based on experiences in earlier PCRs, we saw that the use phase was very relevant. The use phase is something that is not under control by a manufacturer. And so the EN 1584 says, well, you can work with scenarios for those life cycle stages. And so what we said, since it's so important for the LCA results, it better be the same scenario for anybody issuing a transparency report for sanitary ceramics. And so we developed a use phase scenario, and that is declared in the product group definition, and that was deemed necessary under number 3 here, the additional rules needed. And so you can go online, here's the link, you can see what's going on, you can see the example. In a few minutes, Naji will take you through an actual document. So now we have the framework in Part A, which covers all the rules for everybody, and then we have a very slim Part B, which needs to be developed once a manufacturer comes by and says, hey, I want a transparency report. It's not an existing product group, and that needs to be created, and that's all that needs to be created. Now, the third document to basically govern the system, Terry said we want to be transparent and open. We have developed a governance document. The governance document lays out who does what and when and why. It defines the role of what we call the technical advisory board, how Part A and Part B are managed, and if you are familiar with the ISO 14025 rules, you see here that all these topics that are addressed in there are addressed in our governance documents. In general instructions and rules, to the coordinator roles, to the application procedure, independent review, independent verification and certification options, the development and maintenance of the program, and the actual periodic review of the framework. So all that is being defined to follow as closely as possible the ISO 40025 requirements. Now, all that is organized to, in the end, get to a transparency report, and Naji is going to show you a first example of that.
Thank you, Joep. I just want to go ahead and mention who are the current tab members. You and Amber from NSF Sustainability, and Alex, who is the Senior R&D Engineer at Kimball International. I believe in the summer, fall 2014, there will be more members that are going to join the TAB committee, so stay tuned. Now, after we have done the LCA following Part B and Part A of the framework, the idea is transforming the LCA results into a 3-page document that is on the surface an EPD. But before we go into these details, I'm going to describe what's in the Sustainable Minds Transparency Report. So on the first page, there would be the performance dashboards that are very product specific. On page 2, which I'm going to go into a little bit more details in the next slide, list the LCA results as well as the interpretation. Delving into what impacts and what stages are these impacts that matter the most from an environmental perspective. And then last page, which is where the manufacturer states what they're doing to kind of make the products greener, reduce the environmental burdens, and moving forward, integrating green design into their design process. So the second page of the transparency report is where, as you can see, it's 4 sections. The first one is where it talks about the specifics of the LCA, such as the scope, attributes, and summary of the results. And then on the right side, as you can see, is where the interpretation and explanation of these results, what do they really mean? And just making them as meaningful to people and stakeholders and those interested in understanding what the LCA is telling us. This is where they can dwell a little bit deeper. Then the third part is where the detailed data and results are presented. And the last page, which I'm going to show you a little bit more, where it shows the different levels of verification and or certification, whether it's third-party verified or certified to the framework, what is the scope, and so this part is kind of the last part of the transparency report. The claim that Sustainable Minds Transparency Report meets the PCR EPD process or is equivalent to it as described in the 14025 is met through the same guidelines of 14025 as in this slide. I'm not going to read it out, but the conclusion of gap analysis and a comparison analysis that I've conducted showed that a third-party certified Sustainable Minds Transparency Report exceeds the requirements for environmental declarations as outlined in 14025. And here is a little bit about what we mean by this. The first part of this slide is just technically talking about the terminology and the various terminology and what it is in the Sustainable Mines Transparency Framework and what it is in the ISO 14025, how it is described. But where the major two differences is where the ISO standard talks in generic terms about the interpretation and presentation of the results. Transparency report, as you have seen just a few slides ago, is specific about listing what are the major contributors to environmental burdens throughout the life cycle of the product in terms of materials, processes, and all of that. But also it reports all of the TRACY or SML impact category results. It does not, the 14025, which I'm going to go into a little bit more details later on, it specifies certain category, impact categories that are mandatory, but they don't have the rest of them, especially those related to toxicity, they don't have to be there. Regardless, the transparency report reports all of the TRACY impact category results, as well as a single score indicator that helps the understanding of the overall performance as it relates to the United States of America. Now, the second difference is the 14025 talks about, in generic terms again, about additional environmental data, and the transparency report is specific in providing information about what the manufacturers have done in terms of understanding their product and its environmental performance, and what are they doing to improve that performance. Now, the question that begs, if we are equivalent, or if the Sustainable Mines Transparency Program is equivalent to the PCRF EPD process, why don't we call it that way? And the question, and the answer lies in three different layers. The first is the PCR EPD are described ISO terms. Since the framework or the Sustainable Mines report framework is a re-engineered process, the terminology is a little bit different while still meeting or exceeding the ISO 14025 standard. And as I have mentioned a little bit earlier, a Sustainable Mines Transparency Report is an EPD, at least superficially. The main difference is the Transparency Report leaves out some of the LC technical details and adds more interpretation, meaning more details on what the major contributors to environmental burdens, as well as information about what the manufacturers are doing to improve it. It is a 3-page maximum. It does not contain all the granular. It contains the granular level, but it also gives a little bit of a course level of what's happening at the design phase. The transparency report is not just a technical LCA summary. It is an understandable, a meaningful presentation of what matters most and what the company is doing about it. Also, all of that while keeping the detail of an EPD and also furnishing redacted background reports that if somebody is really interested in the full LCA, then that is also going to be available and made public. But we get to the information that matters the most. The way that the framework is currently formed, we separate the general rules in Part A from the specific rules. That is Part B, as Joep has described. That increases the harmonization, decreases possibilities for inconsistencies. It is a simpler route to transparency, and it's faster, more efficient, and it does not. It helps the market-driven and continuous environmental improvement and by making at least that part of it a little easier and friendly. So in total, or basically in conclusion, the Sustainable Mines Transparency Report program does three things. First, it re-engineers the process, as we have just explained. It's faster, efficient, cost-effective, as well as harmonized and consistent. The second one is being inclusive and allowing everybody, no matter where they are in terms of sustainability, every manufacturer, every organization can start being transparent right now. And that happens through featuring three different levels of verification and or certification. It could be as you can see, it could be a self-declared or third-party verified and or certified. And that really meets one of the guidelines or one of the objectives of 14025 is basically very paramount expression of that objective, and that's part A, 4A, as in the transparency report encourage the improvement of environmental performance. And that happens by allowing manufacturers and organizations to communicate what they are doing to reduce their impacts in a transparent manner. They don't have to do greenwashing anymore. Now, this part of the presentation is the part that I kind of like the most, but I also think we can go on a very big picture details. This is a very redacted version, or basically the conclusion of a much bigger report that is going to be an appendix to Part A, which is the word by word, or basically sentence by sentence, idea by idea comparison of where the Sustainable Mines Transparency Report fits in compliance with the 14025 standard. And as you can see, most of it we meet or exceed the standard, but I think the most important one is, or all of them are important, but paragraph 5.8 is where it talks about the flexibility of the PCR EPD process. The comment that we had was, the framework ensures that the creation of a PGD is not cost prohibitive. In fact, it does not cost anything to create a PGD. And the whole process does not exceed 6 weeks period of time. Could, again, depending on the complexity, might go a little bit more, such as a week or two, but that's the average that we're expecting. The other point that we believe we exceed the expectations of ISO 14025 is the open consultation. The Sustainable Mines Transparency Report program is predicated on transparency and openness, and the PGD process, or the PGD creation process, is always preceded by a public consultation that the DAP committee responds to and comments on and talks about. So these are the rest of the comparison. There might be some questions that we could go into details about later on, but again, this is going to be an appendix for Part A. Now, the future steps that we foresee is the following. We will work with all North American program operators to achieve harmonization and develop mutual recognition agreement. The framework will adopt any publicly available default US database, and efforts are ongoing to make that happening. And the framework is going to be one of the early adopters of such a database because we believe it enhances consistency of environmental declarations. And the last part is we're offering the inclusion of HPD data, health product declaration, as well the interpretation, similar to the way that you have seen the transparency reports, the interpretation side, and trying to make the information as much meaningful and understandable as we can. So now you have known about what the program is, what the framework is, and the question is how to get started. And so I know Terry had earlier in the presentation, she mentioned, she showed you this diagram, and I think it's important to walk through it to see how it is actualized. So 1, 2, and 3 talks about how that you create the PGD and you set up the LCA accordingly, but then and when you do the transparency report and you try to understand what is it that in the product in terms of materials and or processes matter the most, we know that kind of information through the transparency report and through the interpretation. Now you start thinking, how can I make my product greener, and how I can do a better job in decreasing the environmental performance. So in step 6 is when you move to a more creative process and start applying what-if scenarios and try to find ways to achieve a greener product design that is both feasible both economically and technologically to make the product greener. And so the streamlined LCA solution offered by Sustainable Minds, EcoConcept, and NC software allows that, and based on the analysis that you do, you find out how you might be able to design a greener product. Now, because you know what matters most in step 4, when you develop the transparency report, you find ways to build on that, and then that's step 7, where you actually design a greener product.
Yeah. And Naji, can I add a few words there to the previous slide? Yeah, what you see here, and you introduced this really nicely, how you can create greener products. There's also integration with why we're developing the transparency report and how that fits into the overall mission and services that Sustainable Minds is providing. When you develop these transparency reports, which are customer-facing documents, you will also be allowed to be shown in step 5 what we call a manufacturer showroom, where more background information can be shown about the product. There's more marketing language that can go in there. So that's fully integrated and part of this process. And then step 6, we have a streamlined LCA solution online, software as a service. That is part of a package when you sign up for the Transparency Report program. The results from the full LCA will be implemented in impact factors in our software, so you can actually do a screening LCA doing what-if scenarios, as Naji just told you. And the idea is that instead of just doing an LCA to get to an EPD, to get to numbers so that you can tick off a box, now this is something that can be fully integrated into your design process, and you can show why you're doing certain programs and making it greener, how you do that, and how you can transparently communicate it with your customers. And they're trying to do with the full suite of products here with the Transparency Report Core Central.
So I want to take you, and thank you for this addition. I want to take you now to the details of step number 2, is how to develop product group definition. So you start on your own if you can't find anybody to work with, or you work with others to create a PGD or a product group definition. So that happens by filing the PGD request. That goes to the tab committee, which reviews it, puts it for public commentary, which public consultation, which lasts around 4 weeks, and then we gather all, or the tab gathers all the comments and responds to them and reviews the PGD accordingly, and after that it's published as a finished PGD. And as we have mentioned earlier, we do have currently 5 PGDs, all initiated by Toto USA, that are for review. There's a form that allows this, and the consultation period closes or ends on July 11. And as you can see on the last column is where the tab responses are. Obviously, since we just launched and the consultation period has not ended yet, there would be another tab to show for that. And one last thing before we move to the Q&A. The public participation period on Part A begins later this summer, during the time you presenting the framework and what's in it. We've showed you the contents page of the framework. Again, it's going to be available and after review, for review, and all of you are invited, and your comments are very welcome. And with that, I come to end this presentation and actually open up the Q&A session. And thank you so much for your time and for listening.
Thank you, Joep and Naji, and thank you all for listening in. There are questions coming in, and we will start to go through some of them. Naji, let's go back to the PGD and review page. One of the questions that's come up previously and has since come up again. I think
you should see it now.
And I think bears some attention. As Naji mentioned, these 5 product group definitions are in the public consultation period right now. You can go to the website, go into the Transparency Report Program section, go to the PGDs and review page, and in fact, there is a link to that page, and every page within that section, you're able to look at the PDF of the PGD and click Go to Form, and it will take you to an online survey form where you can submit as many and as lengthy comments you care to. All of that comment and recommendations will go through the tab, be determined should the results update this particular PGD. Are there good recommendations that should go to update Part A? That will get fed back to the initiators, and the final PGD will get posted on the site here, as well as all of the comments and tab responses that came in. We also have ways to sign up to be on our mailing list to be sure you get notified when new PGDs are put up for public comment or new PGDs are posted for use. And again, I really want to focus on our desire to engage with LCA service providers who are looking for additional ways to create value for their deliverables. Delivering EPDs is already part of your portfolio. Here's another option for you to be able to deliver to clients. Now there's a new alternative, and again, it's really important for us as being transparent in developing the process that folks in the community weigh in and really engage with questions, comments, challenges. You know, it is our intent to accelerate transparency using the existing guidelines and standards and simply re-engineering the process. So the next question that I want to take is, and there was a question actually about our software, which we haven't really talked much about, but that you can see we have included as kind of a key component in the design better and market better continuous improvement loop. Absolutely, the question came in, Sustainable Minds offers simplicity and a low-cost solution to creating sustainable products. Are we changing our focus? And more importantly, are we intending to compete with the technical tools such as SEMAPRO and Gabi? So that is a great question, and I'm really glad that it came up. And Naji, can you go back to the continuous improvement loop page? So it is absolutely not our intent to compete with Gabi or SEMAPRO. We'd like to think, and we have said this actually since we launched Sustainable Minds, you want to use the right tool for the job. You know, tools are purpose-built to do certain parts of the job in a very explicit and again in a purpose-driven way. Sustainable Minds eco-concept and LCA software has always been designed to be used in early-stage product development to be able to rapidly model new product concepts, understand what's causing the impacts, where in the product's life cycle. It's collaborative, it's in the cloud, it is low cost, it is designed to be simple and understandable. However, on the market better side of things, to report to the marketplace, you will do a full LCA using Gabi or SEMAPRO or spreadsheets or however the LCA can be conducted to be compliant with the Sustainable Minds Transparency Report framework. But this LCA cannot be done with our concept modeling and LCA software. This is a design tool. You need to use the technical tools to produce this full LCA. So to that end, we are absolutely looking to work with every LCA service provider independent of whether they use Gabi or SEMAPRO. The framework is general, is not tool specific, and all we're doing is bringing our brand promise of understandability, ease of use, cost effectiveness that we had applied in the development of our design tools and now applying it to the development of our marketing better tools. Now, of course, we're getting some pricing questions, and you know, it's always a little bit tricky to give pricing in a general way, given that every company is different, and the scope of every project is different. But what I can tell you is the cost to produce a single product group definition is $10,000, start to finish, and that's independent of if it's an individual manufacturer, if it's a group of manufacturers, if it's an industry association. Our cost to review, manage that process, provide comments back, publish and maintain that PGD is $10,000. The cost of a transparency report starts at $10,000. It includes software, it includes data, it includes visibility in the showroom, and when you're producing multiple transparency reports from the same LCA, the cost per report is reduced. So it is a component-based pricing solution. The cost of the LCA is whatever the cost of the LCA is. We do deliver LCA services. We prefer to partner with LCA service providers or to partner with the LCA technical people you have in your own organization. Again, I really do want to emphasize Sustainable Minds is a software and services company. We're delivering software, we're delivering managed services, the services around creating the transparency reports and ultimately making it possible for people to find manufacturers' products who are reporting transparently and making it easy for people to make informed greener purchase decisions. And ultimately, what we're building is a showroom. It's a massive lead generation program because the intent is to connect buyers and sellers to grow this marketplace. So we hope coming out of this presentation that you can see we're trying to create a framework or an ecosystem by introducing a system in which all stakeholders can participate. Again, to respond efficiently with credibility to this ever-increasing demand for transparency. I posted a note that we will be posting a recording of this webcast on our blog in the next few days, and we are happy to send a PDF of this deck to anyone who requests it. We'll be following up with you in the next few days in any case, and we really encourage you to go to the website to register to be on the announcement list for PGDs. We will do specific mailings just to that list over time rather than to the broader list. So if you do want to be kept in the loop, please be part of our advocacy community. I think that pretty much answers questions that have been submitted. Wouldn't it be refreshing to end a little bit early? And so that is exactly what we'll do. I want to thank you all again for attending today, and we look forward to connecting with you and speaking with you in the future. And thanks again to Naji and Joep. Have a great day.